There are so many people within the gaming industry who virtue signal constantly, and whenever the wind starts to shift directions, their opinion does as well. And over the past year, there has been a lot of controversy when it comes to Helldivers 2. A lot of people love it, it's a fantastic game, but a lot of the people, like community managers behind this title, are radical leftists. And now the Helldivers CCO is saying DEI detracts from a game's experience, but we're all raising a lot of questions as to why he's saying this now when they have a lot of questionable people still employed at the company. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, when you are part of a team this big, there are bound to be individuals with different opinions and different viewpoints on topics in life, but we are talking about very different opinions here, and all of these people do still represent the company, and their opinions still do ultimately reflect on Arrowhead. And now the Helldivers CCO is saying DEI detracts from a game's experience and that political messaging does not belong in games. He said it doesn't add to the game experience, it detracts, and games should be a pure pursuit of amazing moments. He then went on to also talk about how I don't like labels, but mankind is united in its extreme xenophobia on Super Earth, inclusion, so maybe that's DEI. I really don't care. Make good games, don't make a contemporary political statement. And these are all things that I do completely agree with. When it comes to politics, in terms of what is going on in the product and in the in-game world, I have zero problems with that. But when you do start adding contemporary political statements, I have a massive problem with that. It's like with Veilguard. Why do you have top surgery scar toggles? Why do you have things like pronouns and modern terminology like transgender and non-binary? It makes zero sense except to appease the modern audiences on social media. And the opinions of the developers. Those are things that I am always going to disagree with. And while I do think that these statements are pretty good from this individual and they're good on the surface, when you look beneath it, it's apparent that it really just is a virtue signal and empty. And that's what's so sad to me, because I want to sit here and believe that people can get along and have different opinions at Arrowhead, but gamers have been censored in the past by people affiliated with this company, like community managers, and therefore I really can't sit here and give them blind praise. Back in June, a Helldivers 2 moderator had banned users from reacting to LGBT furry art and then removed the emote completely as their player base continued to shrink. You also had this pretty crazy situation where Grumps had called for the community manager team to be fired after a moderator had decided to accuse him of sexual assault. Someone who sexually assaulted many people he worked with lost his position as CEO, now is a far-right influencer who had people attack more than one of our CMs and their families. Grumps has never had people go and attack developers' families. Sure, he'll call out the developers themselves and say you should criticize their actions, but he's never had his audience go and attack families. That is an absolutely disgusting and ridiculous statement to make, but it's also terrible to just go around calling people you don't like sexual harassers. Then you had a Helldivers 2 community manager declaring the game is pretty woke and reveals the game was banning individuals she deemed bigots, transphobes, homophobes, and racists. Did he come out this CCO and make a statement about this? Did he clarify that this is not how the majority of the developers feel? Did he come out and say, we're so sorry that gamers are being silenced and this is not acceptable behavior from anybody at our company and we really want to do better in the future? No, they tried to have this fly under the radar. And because this was towards the beginning of Gamergate 2, a lot of people were calling them out, and we still remember to this day. But that's such a big issue when now you've got this person coming out and making all these statements when there is a clear history of bullshittery at this company. And Mark Kern, aka Grumps, did make a thread about this, talking about how, yeah, it is a really good statement now, but it comes across as virtue signaling, and tons of gamers are really mixed about this. GigaBear had said, cool, when do I get unbanned from their Discord for saying I was a Grumps fan? I do think that they have an opportunity to fix their community team. I do think that they have an opportunity to bring players back, but as time goes on, games do kind of inevitably die out. Interest does eventually wane, and they had a good run, though they did severely damage their reputation. John Trent is also pointing out a community manager handbook instructed moderators to ban players who are opposed to identity politics being injected into video games, and there are some gamers who are saying this is absolutely amazing, things are really starting to change, and I do think that we are seeing some micro changes currently, but I think it's going to be years and years until we really know if we have won. Look at the development cycles of video games right now. Sometimes they're upwards of a decade, which is insane, and the current lineup of games, as far out as we know, would release in like 2028 to 2029, with something like Star Wars Eclipse being a good example. So we are years away from seeing if developers really are going to take our feedback into consideration at a large scale. But at least right now, we are seeing some people speaking up. We are seeing some changes, which in my opinion are for the better, though I think that they still do need to clean house and get rid of these woke community managers. And maybe they are only changing their tune now because their reviews used to be very positive on Steam, though they eventually had tanked to mixed with 330,000 reviews back in May because gamers were so upset with a lot of the things that were happening, a lot of the controversial statements that were being made. So maybe this will all turn out to be a great situation. Maybe he will continue to speak up about things like DEI detracting from a game's experience, and other people on this team will say political messaging does not belong in video games, but there are a lot of people affiliated with Arrowhead who feel completely differently. And it really just comes across as them trying to get a few more people back into their game. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.